Hey guys, I just wanted to talk about a little technique that they used in the 1960s when they were playing rhythm. Um, so it's pretty obvious to a lot of people, I imagine. But if you're kind of new to psychedelic and 60s music, rock music, classic vintage, stuff like that, then yeah, it might be of interest to you. So usually, if you get to say like a chorus of a song, I'm going to take, as an example, I'm going to take Kavas Duke song, Odyssey. And usually today you play it like this. The chorus would be like this, that kind of thing. But in the 1960s, it was a pretty common um, to play it like this, almost as if you were trying to mimic the drums, like that kind of thing. So instead of letting all the notes ring out completely, you'd have gaps. It'd be quite common to have gaps. So it'd be, see, like, and there's a lot of the time, I can think of other examples, like say Push by Deep Purple. The chorus is just, so full chords, and just strike once and let it ring out. So obviously you'd have the drums still going and things like that. Obviously today I think most people would be play, if we were going to play it, they play power chords, and it'd be just like that. But it was quite traditional in those days to just I'm going to try and mimic the drums, so it'd be like like that, so you just hitting it once and letting the notes ring out. You hear other people doing it, like say Steppenwolf, the guitar player from Steppenwolf. He'd quite often do that kind of thing where you're not sort of doing a full strumming pattern, like you just today I think most people would probably just play the power chords and have like layering out, but it was quite traditional in those days to have like maybe palm mute it slightly, like typical kind of free, and that's just how guitar players would have played in those days quite a bit. Obviously, another example of that era would be like Cream, Eric Clapton. So, I mean, I'm saying you have this, you don't do this kind of thing, but the bass player would. So, the bass player would have the notes ringing out. So, like say for example, we were playing before. It'd probably be playing something a little bit more intricate than that rather than just playing the standard. But the point is, the bass player would be playing something that rings out, usually with distortion, slightly distorted. Um, but yeah, then the guitar player would kind of not have something that rang out. It'd be just like, but then the bass would be kind of going, something that really fills out and has no gaps in between. But the guitar player would have a lot of gaps in between what they were playing. So which were the other example? Yeah, Eric Clapton. His kind of style. If you listen to Spoonful by Cream, you know the guitar player is playing it like a lead part. and then the bass is, you know, so that the bass player will be playing something that rings out and has no gaps. But then it's amazing just how sparse Clapton's part is, especially on the verse. I think all he does is, you know, just stuff like this, and then it's the bass, and then maybe just does like, I don't know, something like that. I don't know exactly the part, but and then just like that, and lets the bass take a lot of it. Just the bass and drums in the verse, and then in the chorus is not playing power chords again. It's just, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't think to play something like that as a chorus part. You know, imagine coming to a chorus and not playing like, you'd probably play it like that, you know, with power chords. But back in the 60s, yeah, again, just very high pitched, not relying on power chords. I mean, everybody knows that Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi is kind of famous for the beginning, sort of around about 1970, you know, doing the power chords. So then you'd start, you know, you'd have those ringing power chords. But up until then, if you're playing like psychedelic 60s rock, 1969 sort of stuff, you know, it'd be just, you know, all that kind of thing. Sorry, my guitar sounds really bad. I don't think it's the intonation. I think it's the actual frets. It's really strange. You know, some chords sound in tune. That doesn't sound too bad. And then other chords sound really out of tune. These notes. And then, yeah, I don't think it's the intonation. I think it's the actual frets. I don't know. It's quite a cheap guitar. I think the frets are maybe just not placed properly. But anyway, yeah. So that's the main point. Anyway, so if you're thinking about trying to write a 1960s guitar part, I'm just trying to think if there's any other examples. Yeah, that's yeah, just kind of palm muted maybe on verses. Just would kind of do a lot of that, you know, Steppenwolf would do it. And then what's that? Free song. You know, just let a lot of, you know, let a lot of everything just kind of come through, leave space for the bass to come through and the drums. Don't have it so, you know, intense, and, you know, where the guitars are just really high pitched, and wasn't like that. You know, I can't think of a single example where you just have like really kind of, if anybody can think of any examples of a pre-70s song where, you know, you just doing that kind of thing, you know, it's amazing. But you know, when they had all the distortion on it, you know, Morgan, that's another example. You know, they just have like lots of fuzz, probably sound like this, but like with a fuzz guitar. then obviously you'd have drums going. But you wouldn't be doing today. Obviously, most people would be just having like a really, full, highly distorted sound, like a. But they just didn't seem to do that in the 60s. So they let the bass take a lot of the rolling warmth, like. That'd be just very rounded sound, and that's where a lot of the drive would come from, and then the guitars would be just leaving a lot of space for the vocals and everything else to come through. But yeah, thanks for watching.